Hello and welcome to this lecture of mathematics. So in this class, we're going to start a new chapter that's called limits. So name of the chapter is limits and derivatives, but first we need to understand what a limit is. So let's get started. Now to start with this chapter, the first thing that we're going to do is take a random function like y is equal to 1 by x, and let's have a look at this function to understand what a limit is and why do we need to study limits. So this is the y-axis, this is the x-axis, and in the first quadrant the curve is something like this. That means when it starts at x equals to 0, it is in this y-axis. As it approaches 0, here the y value takes infinity, and as x approaches infinity, gradually it drops down to 0. That is one striking feature of this curve. That means as we go here, this will keep reducing and finally go to 0. Now, how do we understand this? Because if I put 1 by infinity here, it will come to 0. And if I put 1 by 0, it actually becomes infinity. But nobody knows what infinity is. And hence, we cannot take this value directly. So whenever we get such a term, we call it not defined. So what we do is, we increase x. Let's say we have 1 by 10. We put x as 10. We get the value of this as 0.1. If we had 1 by 100, this would be 0.01. If we take 1000, it will be 0.001. And if we keep doing this and reach a value which is very large, that means the zeros keep on increasing as much as possible, as many as you can imagine, till this page fills, or even more than that. So if the paper is big, then can just go on and on and on. Then you can imagine the value that we are going to get is something like this, very small, which is almost equal to 0. And that is why we say that when x tends to infinity, that means it doesn't become infinity because we don't know what infinity is. So when x tends to infinity, y tends to 0. Similarly, if I keep reducing these values, like I write 1 by 0.1, then 1 by 0.01, and similarly 1 by 0.000, as many zeros as possible, and then 1. We say that as x approaches 0, y tends to infinity. That is this possible case. In the first case we saw this, second case we saw this. So that is the reason why we are applying limits over here. So we say that limit x tending to infinity 1 by x is nothing but 0. So in this case, it's going to be 0. Now we have understood why limits are required. Because at certain points, if we put x in certain functions, we cannot find the value of that y. In that particular case, we have to apply the concept of limits. Now let us understand how to actually apply the concept of limits. In this case, we have studied why limits are required, and we got a feel, certain basic feel of what limit is. But now we're going to see how to apply the concept of limits. Let's take a random function. Let's say that the function that we are considering now is some random y is equal to f of x. And at this point, we are trying to find the value of this function. So this is the point x equals to a. And the value of this function at that point is y is equal to f of a. That is a value. But then, for some reasons, let's say that we are not able to find the value of this function at that point. At this point of time, what we do is we choose a very nearby value to the left, whose value is x equals to a minus h, and then we write f of a minus h. So when we write f of a minus h, it's going to be called left hand limit. The value of this is called left hand limit. And to the right of this, we're going to write the value of the function at that point, which is f of a plus h. So this point is x equals to a plus h. Now, what is h actually? H is a number tending to 0, which is very small. Like, suppose x is equal to 5. A is 5 in this case. If we consider a as 5, then what we get is the right hand point is going to be a plus h, that is 5 plus 0.0000, very small, which is going to be 5.0001, and the left hand point is going to be 5 minus 0.00001, which is 4.99999, which is very close to this. It's going to look something like this. Now let's take an actual example and try to apply left and right hand limits. Let's say that the point is the function given to us is x plus 5. If this is the line, it means that the line is going to look something like this, where this point is 0, 5. Now once this is achieved, what I do is, let us choose one point, that is x equals to 1. Now in this point, in this case, we can easily find the value, and the value of f of 1 is 1 plus 5, that is 6. But now let us, for some reason, we will choose a point which is very close. On the left hand side, we are going to choose 1 minus h, and on the right hand side, I am going to choose 1 plus h. So 1 minus h is somewhere going to be 0.99999, very close. And on the right hand side, this point is going to be 1.00001. So if at all I have to find 1 minus h, f of 1 minus h, it is going to be 0.999 plus 5. So the value, actual value is going to be 5.999, something like this. And f of 1 minus 1 plus h is going to turn out as 6.0001. So from this, we can easily make out that the middle value, that is the value of the function at that point, is going to be 6, because these are almost same, that is f of 1 minus h and f of 1 plus h are almost same, and hence we approximate the middle value to be 6. It has to be 6. So this is one example wherein I've explained the value of the function at that point, the left hand limit and the right hand limit. Now let's take some more cases and try and understand why we require the concept of limit. Let us take a question, but before that question, we have to understand what is the existence of a limit. So whatever limit we are finding, that limit has to exist first. And if that limit has to exist, then there are certain conditions. The condition is that only when LHL is equal to RHL, we say that the limit exists. This is one important thing that you have to remember. Now let's take an example, and with the help of example, you try to understand how to find left hand limit, right hand limit, and check whether the limit exists or not. So let's say that the function is given to us as mod of x minus 3 by x minus 3, when x not equal to 3 and it is 0, It is 0 when x is equal to 3. So now that this is given to us, we can clearly see that if I put x equals to 3 in this, then it will be of the form 0 by 0, which is an indeterminate form. You can't find a value of this. So that is why when x is not equal to 3, only then this function exists. And when x is equal to 3, it's given to us that the function takes the value 0. Now, first, we will try to write LHL. So the critical point that we are talking about is 3, x equals to 3. That means LHL is going to be taken at the point f of 3 minus h, limit h tending to 0. So h is such a small value that it is tending to 0. But 3 minus h is always going to be at the left of 3. And 3 plus h is going to be at the right of 3. So f of 3 minus h is going to be 3 minus h minus 3 divided by 3 minus h minus 3. So you can clearly see that 3 and 3 will go, 3 and 3 will go. But on top we have mod of minus h. And you know that modulus of anything which is there inside is always going to come out as positive. So h by minus h is minus 1. Now let us see RHL. Limit h tending to 0, f of 3 plus h. So let's put this and check what happens. 3 plus h minus 3. Over here at the bottom there is no mod. So just correcting it. So it's going to be 3 plus h minus 3. 3 and 3 will go. 3 and 3 will go. Ultimately we get 1. So minus 1 and 1. These are the values that we get. So LHL that we get is minus 1 and RHL that we get is 1. So here from this example we get to know that LHL is not equal to RHL. So in this case we can conclude that the limit does not exist. In this case the limit does not exist. The very first thing before solving a limit problem that we have to do is check the left hand and right hand limits. Only if the limit exists, then we'll be able to find its value. Let's take another example to understand this better. Now there are some rules of limits that we have to understand first before going to the next problem. The first rule is, let's say we got two functions. F of x and g of x. These are the two functions and we have to apply the limit to this. So what we can do is individually apply the limit to both these functions and then we can solve this problem. Similarly, this rule applies to subtraction of the two functions also. The next is, let's say we got a function like this, c times f of x, wherein c is a constant. What we can do is take the c constant out and then we can write limit x tending to a f of x. Last one is the rule of division and multiplication. So first let us take multiplication. If it was this, something like this, then we could have written limit x tending to a f of x and limit x tending to a g of x. Lastly, we are going to take the division part of it, f of x by g of x, and now we have to apply the limit to both these functions. So this is what we get. Now these are some properties that you have to remember before solving the limits problems. Now let's take an application based on these properties. It's given to us that the one function that we have is x squared plus 4 and the other function g of x that we have is x minus 3. So the point given to us is x equals to 5. This is the critical point. And we have to check whether these combinations will exist. F of x plus g of x is one. Second one is f of x minus g of x. Third one is going to be fx into g of x, and lastly fx by g of x. So obviously the first one is going to be limit x tending to 5 x square plus 4 plus limit x tending to 5 x minus 3. So all that we have to do is put the value of 5 in this value of x. So it's going to be 5 square plus 4 plus 5 minus 3. So this is going to be 25 plus 4, 29, 29 plus 2. It's going to be 31. So the value of the first limit is going to be 31. Then comes f of x minus g of x. So what we're going to do is limit x tending to 5 f of x, that is x square plus 4 minus limit x tending to 5 x minus 3. So this is going to be 25 plus 4, 29 minus 2. That is, this answer is going to be 27. If it's the multiplication part, then it's going to be really simple. It's going to be limit x tending to 5 x square plus 4 and limit x tending to 5 x minus 3. So this is going to be 29 into 2, which comes to 58. And lastly, it's going to be the division part, that is limit x tending to 5 x square plus 4 by limit x tending to 5 x minus 3. So x square plus 4 is 29 by 2. That is going to be the answer to this question.